regulations provide a bit more clarity on this. Next slide, please. So here are some other key features that are similar to the GDPR. So the law requires both controllers and processors to record their processing activities. Such a record should include specific information. So for example, the type of processing activities and the duration of processing. Both controllers and processors are responsible for notifying the center and data subjects of a data breach, unlike the GDPR, which requires the processor to notify the controller if there's a breach. The law requires controllers and processors to notify the center of a breach within 72 hours of becoming aware of that breach. And if national security is threatened by that breach, then the notification must be made immediately. And the data subject must then be notified 3 days from the date of notification to the center. The law also prohibits electronic marketing unless a number of conditions apply, which includes obtaining the consent of data subjects and setting clear and uncomplicated mechanisms to allow the data subject to refuse the communication or to withdraw consent. So senders of electronic marketing communications will have to maintain electronic records evidencing the consent received from data subjects. And also note that a license will be required to process personal data for electronic marketing purposes. Then subject to a number of exceptions, the law contains a general prohibition on the international transfer, as well as sharing and storing of personal data, unless such country guarantees a level of protection of personal data that does not fall below that which is stipulated under the law and which is subject to the business transferring such data obtaining a license from the center. So the executive regulations will provide further policies, criteria, and rules on transferring personal data abroad or granting access to personal data across borders. It remains to be seen which countries will be formally designated as adequate. It could be likely that the EU and countries with similar privacy laws are placed on an adequacy list, which would facilitate the data flows between Egypt and other countries. However, irrespective of whether the country is adequate or not, a license will be required to conduct such transfers. There are exceptions to the general rule, so transfers could occur to non-adequate countries with the direct consent of data subjects and under certain circumstances that are set out in the law. And however, you still need a license to conduct such a transfer. Next slide, please.